Here's a look at the markets of Friday, Feb 10th, 2017. As you can see in the overnight market here in the E-mini S&P, it didn't really do a lot. It just continued to move higher. We did have a low in here around 2203. We had some support. I'm sorry, at 2303. Our support was around 2302.25. So just a few ticks below there. So it didn't quite make it there. And then our high yesterday was at 2307.75 right here. So it did go and make a new high. Not by a lot. You can see in the early European session here when it did make that high, did find some selling. There's a magenta bar came in there and moved it back down to below yesterday's high, but then right back up to it. So natural support in here, roughly 2305 area. Or slightly below. But obviously, no big change in the market, still has the bullish bias. Here's a daily chart. You can see we had an open basically at yesterday's high, a bit of a dip, and it just continued higher. So our up auction continues. You can see it here too. Once again, good range extension up, a strong opening, and follow through. We did close about 3 points off the high. You can see it here. This is on the 10-minute. You see the market came back to the 2311.75 as the late support, and the other support around 2805, 2308.50. Okay, so here's the 1-minute chart with the 2-minute template. Well, in the early going here, a little bit of a blue bar here, a little bit up, then it came down, didn't make a new low, came down here within a tick of the low on this red bar and quickly had its high taken out. So it just didn't poke its head above like it did here off of this red bar. And of course, we're looking to try and get long any kind of rejection of selling or follow through from buying. Another opportunity would be near the low of this blue bar. I did give a bit of a bounce, but not much, so that was an opportunity there, and certainly an opportunity when it came back down to test in here with these couple of decel bars, and had a good move up. We got a blue bar in here. It backed off a bit, but not much. Another blue bar in here, and then it came in a little bit, about 3 points or so off the high of the day. But you can see the average range of these bars is less than a point, so very, very quiet here in the early going. I think the first hour of trading or so was only about 3 or 4 points. 4 points, I think it was, and then continued on up from that. So, any kind of trading here, you really, I think, got to expect to hold on to it a little bit longer in the ES with these. I know yesterday it had a pretty good range, but generally we have had, fairly quiet ranges. So you want to try and get on board, I think, early in the day if you can, and try and hold it for a little bit longer. Just to try and make some half decent profit in the ES these days. It's not always as true in the gold and the crude. I've put on the these are all buying gaps in here, as you can see as the market is. These are all gaps in here. These are all buying gaps. Buying gap here, and another buying gap here again today. So, but we couldn't hold above 53.09. That's kind of the breakout. I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if we do something like this next week. It seems to me it's ready to do that. On the other hand, I mean, if it comes back down and gets below this gap, then or even gets below 69, it could come in and test 21, which is the high and low. 53.69 to 53.21 is the gap range that we have, the buying gap that was actually confirmed today. So, but we've been going sideways here for quite some time. So basically about a month and a half. So I think it's it's due to do something. So I'm looking forward to it having a move up or down, and it looks like it wants to go up. So I'm just be on the alert of a break above 54.09 for a nice rally up, which could easily last about $1.50. Here is the profile, as you can see. So nice gap up. And a close towards the bottom of value, but here's the new buying gap that I was just mentioning. It's a pretty good sized one, as you can see, all the way up to here. When we did go down and actually make the low today, as you can see, it got rejected from there very, very quickly, and then some buying came in, and that of course worked as support later in the day. So that's obviously our key support, and then the next support down here, 53.69. We did have a sell-off below the blue bar here. Let me get a straight line on that. Below the blue bar in here. Whoops. Um, that was as it tested just above the 54.09. So when that blue got rejected, you would expect it to come back down and hit towards the next support, which was down in here, which gave us a nice shorting opportunity. But as long as you knew that wasn't a great trade, or you were looking to be a buyer down in here, or a seller up in here after the structure occurred today. But certainly once the rejection occurred in here, a lot of excess on that 2-minute bar right there. And the market just had a nice rally after that. So I always want to take a look at that, because once again it was a market that had gapped higher, and if you can get rejection off of any selling like that, it's a good opportunity to get in on the long side. And certainly with the kind of rejection that we did have here when this market came down, I think it was about 12 ticks of excess on that, so it really worked out nicely and was able to move the market higher immediately. So I always want to take a look at those, especially when you've got a gap higher, and it's a good rejection of selling. As far as the gold was concerned, we did have the follow-through lower, so we did open into the gap area, 1227. It came down to 1226. And then turned around, as you can see here. So we knew that there was some pretty heavy selling yesterday, was anticipating some continuation of that. Here was the gap here, so we traded a little bit into it, and this is after this day here that had good range extension down. We're looking for a test. This trade actually worked out nicely, because we were looking for a test in here and find some support, and send the market up, which is in fact what it did. So this one actually worked out quite nicely today. I've left some lines on here. This was the 2710, the gap high, and we did, as you can see, pop into it here a little bit. Also good rejection off of this one. And what, of course, we really like to see when the market comes off of a good support is a nice high velocity move. We got it here. It dipped into it back, I don't know, I think it was about halfway or so, but came back down towards the 27 and then turned right around when this red bar had its high taken out. So a good move there, good opportunity there, and you can see it had a good run up. It hit into the lower part of this high velocity move on that rally and then came back. It didn't quite come into the support area here. We did have a nice decel on there and then continue up. So we didn't quite make it up to that previous gap there, which I've left on, but I think the critical price is this guy right about in here that I think we should monitor. That's right around 1239, which was this just after a little bit of a bounce yesterday, and we had that really strong sell-off, a little bit of a bounce here. It never looked back, went down and made another low. And of course, this, with this low here, it did have a bit of a bounce in this area, but then just turned around and had a good move lower overnight to open in here with the gap opening lower. So when a market opens with the gap opening lower, you're looking to see if you can get on board in the vertical market on the short side. We never did have any really good rejection. This was some good rejection, but it was just a level 1 bar or some follow through. And the follow through here, unfortunately, was happening right around this key area of likely support, right in the 1227 area. So you want to weigh those off accordingly. And certainly when the market did come in and show that really nice high velocity move, because we know those are beginnings and ends of intraday auctions, just like this one started the intraday auction down yesterday, this one here started the intraday auction up today, and gave us a good move. You can take a look at this. It was roughly around 29, the market got up here. It was at about 37, so nice move. So at any rate, some good opportunity today in the gold. It's moving as well as any of these other markets right now, and it seems to me that we've got some support right in here, 1232.30, I think it is. It's on the DMA, and then the next support down in here that we should monitor overnight, and then the next resistance up in this area here, and then of course right in here as the next likely area of resistance. So we got some good areas here to monitor for support and resistance. So we want to check those out and see what happens overnight, Sunday evening going into Monday. because we could get some more follow through the upside, I'm thinking. And of course, it would be very bullish if it turned all the way around and erased this high velocity move, which the high of it's around 44. If it should take that out early next week, obviously a very bullish development if that should happen. On the other hand, if it does come down, starts trading below the 30 area in here, look out for another leg down to give another test of this remaining gap here. I believe the low of this is 1225.20, and so that would be the next area down there. Should in fact the market get below this area of support just above 1230. So nice movement today in the gold. Anyway, that'll be it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Have a really good weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.